Hi everyone, we are still live in day 1 of season 5. I've been blasting for like 20 hours now. Here's my little 100 hardcore sword. We had a pretty good time so far leveling this up. I've been playing a lot of Blizzard, Firewall, and now also Fireball. I wanted to go more Chain Lightning, but I have never really gotten the items for it while I was leveling and kind of skipped it, working towards Lightning Spear. But that aside, I want to talk about some of the undocumented changes and findings from day 1 that we have gotten so far. So I kind of compiled a little list here of just kind of important information that we didn't know before because it was not in the patch notes, or because, well, we wouldn't really know what would change and in what way. So in no particular order, I'm going to go through this, just kind of info dump this on you so that you have everything that you need to know. Now let's start here with the general stuff. So number 1, a lot of people have trouble getting into World Tier 4 and then into Nightmare Dungeons. Usually you want to go Nightmare Dungeons as you are in World Tier 4 just to level up as quickly as possible, and it seems like they may have reduced the drop rates of those sigils from Whispers. In fact, myself, I did 5 full Whisper turn-ins and I have not gotten a single sigil when I did that. Other people were a bit more lucky, but it seems like it's just not consistent enough. And at some point I was barely able to craft 1 sigil, and then I was able to complete dungeons. Because Elias actually drops a tier 1 sigil. This is still the same as in season 4 and was not fixed. So the way to do this is you either farm enough sigil powder and sigils in World Tier 3 and then salvage them, or you salvage an Infernal Compass. So these are these new Infernal Horde keys that you can get here. If you salvage one of them, you'll probably have enough. You need 50 sigil powder. So there's like a little trick you can use. I was unaware of that, so I suffered through like an hour of World Tier 4 very slow whispers. That was fun. Then we have the rune shards. So Pit currently is basically not in the game. You get rune shards a little bit from like some one-time rewards and from like some sources like whispers and helltide chests, I believe, but it's very, very slow. I have like almost 300 now, and usually you should get like, I don't know, dozens of them per Nightmare Dungeon on the higher tiers, but you get 0. So for some reason it is bugged out in Nightmare Dungeons to get no rune shards whatsoever. So TLDR, you want to try to level up in Nightmare Dungeons, but other than that you want to stay away from Nightmare Dungeons as much as possible, as long as this is not fixed. So I have not heard of anything of, like, I asked Blizzard and see if there's anything coming, but so far I have no information about when the fix is coming for this. But of course it kind of holds us back from progressing in the end game. So these rune shards that you get from the other sources are not enough. Then Infernal Compass and Scrolls. A lot of people have problems finding them at all, so you have to complete the priority quest, the Eyes of the Enemy. There are 2 separate quest lines. One is the seasonal quest line that starts at level 1, and the other one is this one that starts in World Tier 3. The seasonal quest line is effectively useless. All you need to do is, like, the first quest. This unlocks the Mother Gift rewards. So this is something here in Sabrinset where you can go turn in, similar to season 4 basically. You get some rewards from reputation turn-ins basically. So this is something you don't need to finish, but this is the real quest you need to do in order to get those compasses and those scrolls. Before that you will get nothing. I leveled all the way to 100 and I got 0 compasses, just like 2 from like some guaranteed reward early on or so. So you have to do this quest line. It takes something like 15-20 minutes or so, and then you can do Infernal Compasses. Speaking of Infernal Compasses, they are actually pretty good. So if you don't want to just do Nightmare Dungeons, you can also farm those Infernal Compasses. They are relatively rewarding now, relatively fun I would say as well. And you can get a lot of gold, a lot of loot, and materials as well. So for example, the pit is currently unavailable. Instead, you can try to get pit materials there as well until they fix the rune shards. But also there are some weird bugs. So I heard this from many people actually, and it's not just some individual cases, but sometimes people just randomly jump straight to level 100. There's just some infinite XP bug happening. That didn't happen to me because I wasn't farming them. I went all the way, no GM, to level 100 farming Nightmare Dungeons. But some people went from like level 70 to 100 or something, like way before me. Way before I had a chance to hit 100. Some people were already 100 thanks to some bugs here in the Infernal Hordes. Now, I would not necessarily recommend to try to abuse this, because you never know what Blizzard will do, but apparently this is happening and it seems completely random from what I know. Then we have the world bosses. So world bosses are now extremely tanky. Usually they got pretty much one shot, or at least lived not very long. Now the fights are kind of minimum a few minutes, and this is also depending on how much damage you do, you will get a bigger penalty. So they have introduced this resilience buff to world bosses that makes them very, very tanky and kind of ensures that there will be a bit of a fight. This is not so bad. If the fight is something like around 5 minutes or so, it is still pretty valuable, because you get 5 Grim Favors, you get the Scatter Prisms, but a bunch of other rewards, weekly rewards, and so on. If the fights are longer than that, it starts becoming somewhat inefficient. So just a bit of like a benchmark here to think about. So depending on how many people are there, how long you actually want to spend on a world boss and so on. But you don't have to feel bad about like a multiple minutes fight. It is still actually pretty valuable. It's just not like the insta kills that we had in the past. Then the plus 30 monster level XP strat. In Season 5, the maximum monster level difference compared to your character, where you still get bonus XP, has been raised to plus 30. I've actually leveled like this pretty much all the way, starting in World Tier 3 or in World Tier 4, and I always try to farm monsters that were 30 levels ahead of me. Now this is pretty decent if you are extremely strong and you don't really slow down. But if you slow down, even let's say by a third or something like that, over, for example, farming monsters that are just 10 levels above you, it does not really seem worth it. So you want to go fast more than you want to go very high against really high level enemies. Now there is another benefit here, especially in Nightmare Dungeons. You get a lot more glyph XP. When I was level 100, I had like 8 glyphs at level 21 or something like that, and a few more at 15, so it's pretty crazy how much glyph XP you get. Also thanks to the seasonal blessings, so make sure you collect these here. Other than that, yeah, the plus 30 monster level XP strat might be quite difficult depending on how experienced you are, how lucky you are, how good your build is, and so on. And you should rather stay closer to the plus 10 monster level that we used to do in the past, because you get kind of an extra benefit up to plus 10, and then you get a smaller benefit up to plus 30. So try to stay fast. Gold farming. So a lot of people always had gold issues in Season 4. Gold farming Infernal Hordes is pretty good. I tested out briefly. It seems like per 10 adder you get 1 million gold. In one of my runs I had 400 adders, so I got 40 million gold in like 10 minutes or something. Really good. This is usually something that you needed to spend an hour on in the past. However, that being said, gold is not really such a bottleneck anymore as it used to be. It is more the legendary salvage mats now. This is the change that Blizzard has made with the enchanting here, the occultist. So when you want to roll your gear pierce, for example, it is blocked by a camera, but this costs, for example, 15 coiling wards right now just to roll once on my helm. And it's kind of similar for, like the rings here. This is 15 abstruse sigils and so on. And now after like around 20 hours of blasting, I have collected, like 1500 or so of each or something like that. I've barely used any of these. I've barely rolled any of my gear. So you can kind of see that, I can do like 100 rolls per item type or category of equipment basically, and then I would be completely out of these materials. And 100 rolls is not really that much, especially if you try to roll some kind of difficult to get stuff like passives, skill ranks, cooldown, whatever. So rather try to be on a safe side, try to find items that actually have those more desirable, more rare stats, and then roll the easy stuff like main stat, life, crit, attack speed. These kind of things are easy to get. Some stats are really hard to get. You don't want to waste your materials on that. Then about the Varsha materials. So some people are confused about this. All Varsha materials still drop, but you can convert them into Alchemist. For some reason, they didn't really do this properly. I don't know. So sometimes you get these weird like bones and whatever. So you can just go to the Alchemist here and go Transmutation, and everything here can be converted to a million hearts. Varshan, though, has become quite expensive. You now need 5 million hearts, so it's +1 material compared to before. Usually you needed 4 materials, now it's 5. So Varshan is pretty premium, and Living Steel is very easy to get. So there's quite of an imbalance here when it comes to farming Duriel mats. And for example, when it comes to farming Tormented bosses, you probably want to focus a little bit more on Varshan here, so that you get more of these materials out of it. And then lastly, Mother's Gift. So this is kind of the reputation track I talked about here at the start. This is here in Sabin set. it is actually really nice. You get a lot of stuff kind of like by default. You can talk to this NPC here after doing this one quest line. And there are 20 reward tracks all the way up to the Resplendent Spark here. And when I leveled up, I kind of just finished this up to, I think, rank 18 or so when I hit level 100. So you just get this from killing elites and doing stuff. And it's not like in Season 4 where you had to spend your time in Helltide. I was barely doing any Helltide outside of, 1 to 30 or something. And I was just farming Nightmare Dungeons, and you get this on the fly basically. And then very shortly after 100, I got my Spark. And after that, you also get like an infinite reward, so it kind of keeps going. This is not really crazy, so it is still worth to maybe like make another alt if you want to level another alt, get a Spark there. But of course, you don't really have to do this. You can also just get Sparks from farming the bosses and salvaging those mythic items that you don't need, for example. But it is a really nice, extra progression track, and you can kind of complete it on the side instead of going to like farm Helltide for 10 hours or so, like it's Season 4. Now, some build related stuff that I want to mention here as well in this video. So number 1, Victimize for the rogues. Yeah, as expected, it is just like not really working. So it is back to Season 3 status, which means it has tons of missing multipliers and it is relatively weak. Then we have the Umber Crux. So we didn't know if Blizzard would fix the bugs. There were some bugs where if we hit the totem from the Umber Crux dagger really fast, you would deal a lot of extra damage basically. That seems to also have been fixed, so you don't have this incredible like billions of damage or extra damage effect anymore. But it is still a fairly good item. I think this will still remain in some builds, especially Barrage, because of the ricochet effect that you can use to like shotgun into a boss, for example, from the totem, and potentially for other builds as well that rely on a lot of lucky hit, bursting venom stuff, for example, in these kind of things. Then we have the Fractured Winterglass. This was also a bit of a question mark for the Storks. Now, I have been working towards this, but I'm not quite there yet. I have not gotten that amulet yet. But it seems like the Fractured Winterglass works in the most optimistic way possible for Lightning Spear, where you can get the cooldown reduction from each explosion from any of your conjurations. So that sounds pretty wild, and I think this might be one of the craziest builds of the season actually, so keep an eye out for that. And as I've been told, the retribution aspect no longer double dips on staggered bosses. So previously you got 2 multipliers when the boss was staggered, which meant stunned and knocked down, and like basically every crowd control is applied at once. So that has also been fixed now, so you don't need to put like retribution two-handed on, I don't know, like some rogue builds, for example, anymore. Yeah, so that's kind of like the little summary that I got here for undocumented patch notes and day 1 findings. Just wanted to put this out there, help you guys out, and hopefully you have a good start into the Season 5 as well. I'll keep lasting more, I'll find out more and let you guys know, so stay tuned for more stuff. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.